welcome to Walpole United WFC.
Hey guys, Natalie here. My show on Wednesday, we're talking about why I love, or why me and my guest love Man United women's team, aka the Devs. So, just get involved. It's always something that's on the Twitter timeline. It's always questions that I'm asked. I'm sure Deborah's asked as well. What's going on? Who's coming through? I think it's what we're built up on, Man United, academy players coming through, and it's good to see it's happening in the women's team. Deborah, talk to me. Hi, thanks for coming back on. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Nat. I'm good. You all right?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Good to have you on. How did you find the match on Sunday and all that came with it?
Yeah, it was a strange one because we were in an away section that wasn't an away section, and I think it's difficult to create a bit of atmosphere. Obviously, it was a big game for the Leicester fans. You could see that obviously a big crowd had turned up for them, but we stuck to our guns. In terms of performance, I think we would all agree, whether you've seen the actual game, you were there, or whether you've seen highlights, 3-1 flatters them. We should have been out of sight, and it should have been a championship season score, really. But 2 games, 2 wins.
Yeah,
great.
We're all happy. Hey, John. Hey, Connor. Everyone get in the comments. I'm sure this is, like I said, this is something that's close to our hearts as Man United fans. Academy football, and then obviously we've seen them a few times, Deb, and just talk to me about the under-21 team. I mean, if I'm sure people have probably asked you about them or they've been talked about. What do you think when you think of that team? It's still like, I really adore them, but like, it's still Man United. It's still, supporting the whole team, and club.
In terms of United, we have a history, we have a tradition. We call it the United Way, and one of the aspects of the United Way is to bring through youth. And the men's team, I don't know the exact number, I'm sure somebody can find it. We have the most incredible record of always having an academy player in the squad for the last, we're into the thousands, I think. So we're over 1,000. So there is a culture, there is a tradition, and it's one of the aspects of the appointment of Mark Skinner, as I believe that we have to bring through the youth. And as United fans, we love to see that happen. We love to see these players. And it's quite rewarding, you and me now, when we've actually gone and watched the Devs, to then see, it's not happened a lot because we're still a very fledgling development squad, but to see those players, Rebecca May probably was one of the first, to see these players getting through to the squad, to see them playing. Look, you and I remember being out in Oslo, and there were a fair few that made that trip.
Charlotte Newsham.
Charlotte Newsham. So we've got this tradition, we've got this culture, and it's just a part of United.
Yeah,
I know people always want us to throw money at at players, but it also means a lot more when it's one of your own.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like you said, Rebecca May was the first one. Like, yes, it was just 10 minutes at Reading, and it was that infamous game at Reading when Katie Zellum headed the ball out, but the ref decided it's to get a penalty. And I've seen a lot of talk of VAR and all this, but there was never that clamour then. But it doesn't matter. It is what it is. But yeah, that game when she came on, even though we drew in the circumstances and everyone was angry that game, but the fact that Rebecca got on and we had seen her a couple of times, it's as if she made it a happy day. It wasn't, because we drew and, the ref and this and that, but she was like the cherry on top that just made the day perfect. And like you say, it's because you're bringing through one of your own. I mean, I think Rebecca, I'm sure I'm not speaking, has been at United since youth, since young days, since forever. And we've got other players like that. The under-21 captain, Poppy Lawson, she's been there forever, There are girls that have come in from different clubs, and I know we've got other girls that are coming in from different clubs Tara signed a deal, but she came in from a different club. Carrie and all that came in from different clubs. But it's still special, though, isn't it? No matter where they come from, it's still special that they played in that, whether they played in the 16s and then 21s or just playing in the 21s. It's special because you see them, developing, really.
You feel a connection. You just feel a different connection from having watched them grow up, watched them develop. I think actually it's quite significant in terms of the time with Ronaldo coming back. We watched him develop. And then, he was a great player when he finished with us. And then he went on to be an even better player. And for me, there was always a sense of watching him of he's one of ours. Not that he came through our youth ranks, but he belonged in a way to us. And I think the players that go through the youth system, when they get to the first team, there is a sense of belonging, ownership almost, that they are ours. And, we're still, if the women's team itself is just over 3 years old, then the development squad is just over 3 years. But, we have the RTC from days gone by. And a lot was made of, was it 7 players that we took on for the first team back in the championship season that we had RTC players. So it's something we do. And for me, it just feels like, I used to watch them when they were playing in the 18s, if it's the boys, the 23s even. You just connect with them better.
Yeah, no, I saw Mason in the 18s. So, it is that kind of thing. And now he's the boss man, Mason. So it is that kind of thing where you feel it. And I mean, let's talk, I suppose. I've had questions in from Twitter, and I will get onto them, guys. And listen, guys, drop your comments in now. We've got about 10 people, probably more, come over. Get on the YouTube link, guys, and, get commenting. Anything that you want to know, we'll try our best, because me and Deborah have watched a bit. We'll try our best to let you know what we think and what we can expect. Here's a question, John Fryan, straight away.
Good question.
And I suppose this relates to sort of what a question I was asked about who's on loan. And Tara is one that's come up through the development squad. We watched her in 2019 for a couple of, was it 19 or was it 2020 for a couple of months, and then obviously COVID happened and I think it was all shut down. She came in January at the time, and I remember first seeing her and she played in midfield, and I thought, she took her time, but then bang, when she settled in, and just the game before COVID, the first lockdown, I remember it was versus Man City, and she ran that show. She was pinging balls from the D and scored a free kick from 30 yards, and I think Tara's fantastic, and she's one that's playing out now in Sheffield. I think she'll be playing when they come back. But I mean, who would you say? Millie's injury, do we need to promote her? And I think that's the way it's going to go, Deb. I know people are like, we're short, we should have signed this, we're short, we should have signed that. But I think, no, we've got Tara on loan. Depending on Millie's prognosis, if Millie's about 4 months or something, I don't think bring her back. But if Millie's the whole season, you never know. You could see Tara coming back, and she's a centre back. I think Tara needs to get games though, but there are young defenders there. I think even like Rebecca May, someone that you mentioned, but I know she's a midfielder, but she's tall, she's strong. Poppy Lawson, someone I mentioned, who I'd love to see. If she can. Rich Laverty, who's your favourite? Listen, of course it's Tara. And Rich, get in the comments, let us know, is she coming back? Because we're waiting on Millie. But no, I suppose.
Is that historical though now, or is that current?
Tara on loan.
I don't know if you'd say that Tara is your favourite loan FC member
ever. No. Yeah. Well, but she started off really well. And Rich will say when she played versus Blackburn, she ran the show. I know Amy Rosette was there as well. Sorry if I said her name wrong, but she was saying how Tara was dictating it from the back, and
there's a composure with Tara that I think, I suppose, much like we expect of Millie in a way, but in a different. That's what stood out for me in the games I've seen her play.
I mean, would you want What would you think then? I don't know if Richard's thought. Would you want Tara to come back, or would you want her to stay out in Sheffield and keep getting the minutes?
I think at this point, and it's a conversation we had on the bus back, actually, I think on Sunday, if Millie's out for a decent amount of time and, you know, we've had no news, maybe it's a case of they're waiting for the swelling to go down before they can get a scan. It could be a little bit longer until we can get an indication. It's not that necessarily the club are holding anything back. We've seen this happen with the men's game where players get injured and they can't scan them straight away. So potentially they're still waiting to get an idea of what's going on there. For me, and I said this, our midfield at the moment is a little bit of an embarrassment of riches. Now that's if everyone stays fit. We have a player who internationally plays centre-back and she's nowhere near the first 11 right now. I would like Tara to stay at Sheffield and get the games. And I think if it comes to a point where we need, Atanu said it, Hayley Ladd, yes, she can be a makeshift centre. She plays that position for Wales. She's also, let's not forget, played right back for us in her first game at the Etihad. But at this point, I would rather Tara stay in Sheffield and get the games. And also at that level, I think if you throw Tara in the Super League, you know, we saw last night, you've got some great professionals who've played for years, making errors, making mistakes. I wouldn't want Tara to have that happen to her at this point of her career. I'd like her to develop. Yeah, absolutely. For me, Tara stays in Sheffield. And if we need a replacement defender, either right back or centre back, for me, Hayley Ladd, if she's fit and able to play.
Yeah, John's just saying, do you think she's good enough?
I think she's the best we've got beyond our first choice.
Yeah. I mean, I know pulling in Devs and stuff, but he did say John for Dev, and that is someone that I would like to see. I mean, let's talk about the original Devs who we've watched from day one. Poppy Lawson, Rebecca May, Chloe Williams,
Maria Edwards.
Kana was there in the first year, Maria Edwards. And I mean, someone said before, Jonathan Ball says, I mean, I'm not saying anything, but an injured winger. And I know Maria went out on loan to Blackburn and did play wing. I think she's more a centre forward for me. And she got 5 goals, but I think she's one of them players that can play anywhere. And we've seen with Tooney, the way that he's been dropping her in and dropping her out. Yeah. I could see Maria doing something like that.
She's got pace. If she runs at anybody, that could be frightening. So, yeah, she might not be a natural winger, but, yeah, I'd say Maria Edwards. I think she's also another player. She really needs games now. She'd be the next one on for me at this point. Obviously, depends where the positions are. Yeah. And I think, look, the game against Liverpool recently. Or did she get 5 in that game?
5. I mean, from when we used to watch her, Deb, that very first year, she used to get a goal a game, pretty much.
Yeah.
Didn't she? She used to get a goal a game.
It was a banker.
Said, listen, baby goat, that's what I used to say. Yeah, you used to go to the game expecting Maria to score, and she did. She didn't disappoint. If anyone was going to score, it was going to be Maria, and now she's scoring 5. I can't believe it.
You know, I still remember that, and you said it before. The last game we went to before lockdown was the Devs against City. And I just remember it got to late on in the game, and she hadn't scored. And then I think, did she round the keeper? I have this memory of her scoring either the second or the third. And there was a sense of, even though we knew something wasn't right with the world, now it's okay. Now it feels normal. So I just think with her pace, it's a matter of composure, I think, with her. But I think she's a great talent. And for me, I don't want her back out on loan. I want her playing. And I also want to see her possibly get introduced into the first team at some stage.
Yeah, I mean, another one that we've not seen, and I can see your question, Rich, another one we've not seen, but we have seen her in pre-season for the first team. And I saw a little tiny bit of her in the Devs, little tiny bit, Gary Jones. And she's going out and playing for Wales. I saw she got interviewed for Wales. best prospect. And, you know, I think Carrie is, I don't know, it's hard. When I watch Carrie, I see Ella Toon in that. It's the way that she runs at players, the way that she tracks back, the way that she harries and hassles. And that's just, the first game I watched, it was Huddersfield Devs, the one after lockdown one. I went over to Huddersfield and I watched them beat Huddersfield Devs 8-0. And I think she scored, Kana scored, Maria was on loan at Blackburn then, so Maria wasn't there. And yeah, Carrie was the one scoring goals. They all were scoring goals, but Carrie was that number 9, and we saw her in Glasgow. She did all right. Do you see them both getting opportunities then this year? Her and...
I'm not sure where they're up to in terms of their development. That's the first thing I'd say. And, you know, the problem you and I have had, Nat, as people who love to go and watch the Devs, is we've not had the opportunity in the last 18 months to go to games. And I just said to Mark earlier, I really miss going to the Devs. And I was, you know, every week or so, I'll go through the calendar just to see if they've changed kickoff times to later so I can get to some of the games. So I'm not overly familiar with where Carrie's development is. I think there's something that really she needs to be given credit for the fact that she made the national team before she was playing the first team. So there's clearly something that she's doing well. And Katie Zellum spoke, I think, last week about how supportive everybody is of Carrie and that she's a superstar. I think she said she's an absolute superstar. And they're seeing her in training. They're seeing so much more of her than I can ever claim to have seen. I know Jake might be able to tell us chapter and verse on Carrie Jones, but I've seen more of Maria than I've seen of Carrie. And I'm not sure developmentally where they both are at this stage. And, you know, until you and I get to a Devs game and they're both playing, hopefully, I'm not sure who's going to get that. At the moment, Carrie's got prime position. She's the one that's making the squad. But is she just going to be a bit part player throughout the season? I'm not sure.
Rich Lafferty back again. Favourite of all time, Lone FC.
And I have an idea. I know who it is now.
Go on then. I don't think you do, because I think you're going to say one, and I think it's the very first one. But go on, you tell me.
Well, my suspicion is there's a reason why Rich has asked this question, because it's somebody who did go to Sheffield.
Go on. Who do you think it is?
Well, it's the person you were debating going to Southampton for. So if I'm wrong, I'm not giving a name.
It is that person.
There you go.
It is that person. It's Ebony Salmon. Now she's made... and I mean, I got asked a question. And John, listen, this one is close. This one is really close. And I do love Palmer so much. But Ebony is my favourite. And that's another one where she actually did play in the first initial development team. I didn't get to watch it. I've been told that she played against Fylde and, you know, and they scored, and she scored 2, and she never played for the first team. But that's where, and I'm sure Rich won't mind us saying, because I think even Sheffield wrote it this way, that's where we send a lot of our kids. And now it seems like we're sending them younger, if anything, you know, over there to get the game time. And, you know, and Rich won't like me now for saying this, but John asked who's out on loan. And we talked about Tara's out on loan. And I said to John, and there's one person out there that she's linking up with, Lucy Watson. Listen, guys, that's someone to watch out for, because Lucy Watson of Sheffield United is going to be a world beater. And Man United were linked to her, City were linked to her. God knows Chelsea have probably been in for her. She plays for the under-19s at England. World beater. Watch this space. Yeah, guys, keep your eyes on that. Rich won't come on tomorrow now because I've been trying to spy his players. Connor's sort of asked a question, and this sort of links to a question that John asked on Twitter about what's the setup of the thing. How is the league set up? And it's not like, I just want to say as well, Connor, it's not like every women's team has a team in the under 21 league. I don't think West Ham have a team. Spurs just started a development under 21 team. I think that maybe in the league, but it's teams like Ipswich that are very pro on youth football, and they're in tier 3, but they're in the same league as Man United women. Birmingham have a really good team. Everton have a really good team. But like I said, Leicester have just come into the league now. There is a quality gap, I would say. I've not watched, like what Deb says, I've not watched it for a while. I think just last year, May was the last game I watched, the development team. And there was talk of Jessica Simpson got a few minutes. And she's one that's being talked of big. And she was in the playing a bit of games versus Liverpool in pre-season. But she was playing. There's a girl called Ayan Ahern. I don't even know if I said her name right, but she's very, very good as well on the wing. What happens mainly, I mean, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here again, but this is how I've known it, whether it's changed since I've seen it, but it goes the RTC like we talk of, and the RTC go up the same way as the men. And tell me if I'm waffling on, Deb. Cut me up. And it goes under 14s, under 16s. Then there's a gap. So in the men's, you have the under 18s and then the under 23s. But what I've known it, and I know it might be changing soon, but it goes under 16s, under 21s. And obviously, for me, that under 18s is something I've talked about for a while, is missing. So when a girl gets to 16, she has to go straight into under 21s. So when you see the under 21s playing each other, so Everton under 21s and Man United under 20, it's a lot of girls that are maybe 16, 17, rather than, being 20, 19, having that thingy. So it is then that gap, because you've got 17, 18-year-olds smashing it, like Maria. Maria's now, I think, just maybe got 19. So she's scoring 5 goals. She's 19, but, then when she's stepping up to women's football, with people probably bit younger than me, but 25 prime, there's that sort of gap, and I think it's bigger in the women's game than in the men's, because you don't have that 18s.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think actually the quality gap is wider in the women's game, and I think you look at the fact that we have some of our under 23s that then, in fact, not even some of the 23s, in the case of Mason, as you mentioned, younger players, Shola as well, who yes, they're in the under 23 bracket, but they're not sort of 21, 22 necessarily, getting into the first team, becoming regulars. Whereas with the women, I do think that gap is bigger. And I do think that quality gap, I think you could have some of our devs, as has happened, go to a championship team, even though I think the quality of the championship has absolutely exploded in the last couple of years. But I think it's going to be rare for that to be a common occurrence, that you have players coming out of the dev squad and going straight into certainly being a first team regular. So, yeah, I mean, it's a good question. But for me, I'm with you, Nat, that, this is something, and you and I know things about the structure of where this is going in the future, and that will possibly help it to improve. But right now, the jump from devs to the full squad, it's worlds apart. And I think that's why a lot of these players don't make that move.
I mean, we're seeing as well, even now, a lot of girls that we've watched, Megan Hornby, Laura Miller, they've gone to Blackburn and Lewes respectively. We've seen
Phoebe
other girls
gone across the pond.
Yeah, we've seen other girls that we watch go to Chloe Howard, Maria, another Maria Figueroa. Sorry, I said your name wrong. I'm really sorry. Seen some other girls go to Stockport County, and that's 4th tier. So we're seeing like that. We're seeing. I think Megan Hornby was one that was a winger, a good winger. She played a few times in the thing, but I think she's at Blackburn now, and she's actually doing really well. She assisted some goals against Sheffield, and Sheffield is probably towards the topper end of the championship. And she's doing really well there. At Blackburn, she is permanently with Blackburn now, like Lara permanently with Lewes, and I think that's what you're seeing now, and I think we're going to start seeing it now. A couple of our girls, maybe when they don't get that pro contract, but they're old enough maybe to start playing the first team. Like, so I think they're both. I think Megan's about 20, so obviously she's thinking, I'm not, I'm playing with 16-year-olds. So she went off to Blackburn. She's doing really well. You see that happening more and more, Deb? I mean, Connor.
Yeah, loan moves equally as important. Yeah, absolutely. Because as well, the Super League isn't a there's not enough teams for there to be that many matches that you need to rotate sometimes. And whilst I'm not saying you can go through the season if no one gets an injury with 1 to 11 kind of thing, you're not talking, say, a Premier League season where you've got those 38 league games plus cup games. There's 22 league games, and they're spaced out so much that ultimately you don't necessarily need to rotate and use your squad as much. And you look at some of the squads, and they're small, they're thin in terms of quality once you get below that first 11. So the opportunities for some of these development squad players to actually break in and play regularly won't be there in the same way it perhaps would be for the men. So yeah, those loan moves, they're huge because they'll stagnate in the devs, but they're not quite ready for that next step.
I mean, John sort of said something. We may see them leave and then come back. And then one who I was devastated. I was on a pod with John when I talked about it. I think I was on with John, with Reese. And I know you probably didn't see her, Deb, but I saw her, and it was only a couple of games, and I thought she was quality. And she's one again who I'd rate up there with Lucy Watson. I'd rate up there with Maria, and Rebecca, because I think Rebecca is definitely ready. I saw our girls play Burnley, who are a full women's team, and Rebecca dominated. She's bigger than me. She's taller. She's like 6 foot. She's probably not exactly 6 foot, but she's wider. She's strong. Rebecca May's definitely one. That's the name. But one girl who left, and I hope she would come back, Sophie Hilliard, goalkeeper. Yeah. For me, I think could be whatever she wants, because I think that's how good she is. That she made some fantastic saves when I saw her after lockdown 1 when they semi-let fans in, and she's gone to Charlton. Like I said, professional contract. She's done that. I think fair play to her. She wanted to do that, but something then Reese brought up. There's no protection from, really. They can't sign a contract before they're 18. Like Shola, someone talked about Shola when he was 15. I'm sure United had tied down. If anyone came in, then they would get a bit of money. But teams can just sort of poach your development players, if they wanted to. Someone could come and take Maria now, if they wanted to. She could just go leave us tomorrow,
But ultimately, Nat, that's how we've got some of them anyway. So we've done the same that we don't want to happen.
Yeah.
But that whole element of until you're 18, you're free to do what you want. Of course, for a player, that's a worry in terms of injuries. And we already know that the women's game doesn't look after players. Well, has had a history of not looking after players with long-term injuries. That there's been cases where players have ended up with cruciate ligament injuries, and the club has cancelled their contract there and then. No support afterwards, no physical support in terms of any rehab or anything like that. So partly it's a money thing, I dare say. You don't be having a couple of dozen 16 and 17-year-olds on money that maybe one of them makes it through in a game where there isn't a lot of money. But yeah, that's something that may shift slightly. We know with the men's game it's a bit different. We know that there's ways around it. We know that those players will be getting sponsorship deals. Some of their sponsorship deals will be more than some of our first team players are making. That's just the world it's in. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not, but by any means, I'm not saying it's right. But ultimately, the point with the devs and their contracts is that we can say to any of them as well, off you pop. So we run that risk of losing somebody, but we can also use it to our advantage.
And yeah, I get where you're coming from, but I think that's, I'm hearing all this talk of VAR and goal line technology, but this is a bigger issue for me. This is a bigger issue. There's no under 18 squads. There's no protection for young players. Like you said, a young player could have the world at their feet, bang, and that's it. They're done. And I think they could have been going up through the ranks and, just the day before their 18th birthday, and there's nothing, they've not, and their contracts ripped up. And that's, for me, a bigger issue than anything to do with VAR goal line technology. Bigger. I think, yes, we do need to get professional refs, but this issue that I'm talking about now, for me, is where the money should go. You get what I mean? Rather than all looking at the WSL and looking at technology and trying to. And I think, yeah, you do need professional, but I just think let's sort everything else out before, you know, what happening on the pitch in the top, just so Emma Hayes gets a decision right, you know, just so Gareth Taylor doesn't lose his job. They should have scored goals. Then that's it. It is what it is. We've had, you know, let's sort the whole structure out first. And there's a question here, Jonathan. I don't know what you think of that, Deb. I don't know if you think like this stuff is more important than this is where I think the energy should be going, maybe more.
I think the infrastructure of the league, we know it's changing. And one of the things we can say is we know United are already working on that. So I think there's a long way to go. And I think it's just going to be part of the women's game not having the money. You know, goal line technology and VAR are at the very, very furthest point. We've got so much here and now that needs resolving, but people only look over there because City had a goal against them. Chelsea had a goal against them. Let's dial it back a bit.
Yeah, this is for me one of the most important topics in football at the minute, John. And I think people are being naive, not naive, because I think that is important. But you know, if you're going to sort anything, if anything's on the top of the to-do pile, it's the development and protecting these players. Jonathan Ball put something in, and I'd love to say it, but I know that a lot of people would be very anti it because I think it's something that's never happened in British football. You know, sort of like a Madrid B team, and they play the teams lower down the league. And I know that we have it in the men's team with the EFL Trophy Cup, whatever, and you see the under 23s playing, you know, Salford City and FC United, whatever, you know, Rochdale. I would like to see something like the similar to that. You know, I know what we do play a lot of friendlies versus tier 3, tier 4s, even championship. And I would like to see maybe not introduced in their league, but like a cup competition. Do you think they'd ever look at anything like that?
The short answer is no, because we're talking about the FA here. I think it will be resolved in a different way. And I think you will have more age groups. And I think what that will do is allow development to almost happen more naturally, rather than, as we talked about, that huge leap from Devs, bang, Super League. I think that there will be a more natural progression. And that's going to catch a lot of teams out. It's going to catch a lot of clubs out. And that's for them to sort. But I think it's a nice idea. But I think the concern will be the flip side, in as much as if our players are playing and they're successful, where does that then leave the teams they're beating? And that's the only reason why I'm playing devil's advocate here and saying I like the idea, because I'd love to see our girls play, and I'd love them to play games that we can go and watch, of course. But I just think that you look at the EFL trophy, I think it is, and you've got so many teams. You don't have that number within women's football yet. We could have this conversation, you know, in 2 or 3 years' time, and the answers will be totally different because the game will be in a totally different position. And, you know, Jonathan Ball said here, build the foundations before sorting out the decorations. Absolutely. There is so much that needs to be ground level right now. And you and I, Nat, we're not naive enough to admit that we're still learning, and a lot of this is new to us, and we didn't know about these things 3 years ago. But as we're learning, it feels as if sometimes things have stagnated. And there's other issues.
Yeah, real answer, John. Yes, but we won't. Yeah, and John, it's something that I've brought up. That EFL trophy is something that I brought up with Adam Milliton I'm sorry if I said his name wrong, but had this discussion, and he's a guy who's an Oldham fan, and he doesn't even like the EFL trophy because he's like he wants Oldham or Rochdale to be able to win. He doesn't want to see Man City under-21s winning. I get where he's coming from, but as a Man United fan, I do want to see my girls tested regularly against women's side. I want to see them playing full-grown women. I know we're going to go on to the fact that they just won the other day and the people that scored and how they've developed. But, I think Maria will be best off playing against full-grown women like she did against Blackburn. And Blackburn would have, middle of the table side, and she did all right. She won their player of the young player of the year, but it wasn't there. Maria scoring every week, scoring 5 goals. I think she got a handful. And I suppose that's the difference.
And it's making that jump, but also playing them against competition. If you're putting decent players out against poor competition, right? And that's the thing. It's got to be good competition because otherwise there's no progress. So if we were to have, let's say, a development team in a different league, potentially you've got some of those games that they might walk through. And where's the progression for them then? Is it better to hold them for loan deals against in the Devs League and get a few of them also into the first team? And that's what we say about the infrastructure.
We saw with Casey what she did with Tara, with Carrie. She put them in December. Well, she put them in because I think their league shut down, COVID.
Yeah.
It took a while for it to get started back up, and then it didn't even start up, really. But she took them in, and they flourished. And now, we're seeing Tara playing on a pro contract, playing at Sheffield. Do you think? And then we're still seeing. I saw pictures the other day of Rebecca May playing, and Neve Murphy playing in Carrington training against Leah, against whoever else. We know Charlotte Newsham's done it. We know Maria's done it a little bit. Do you think that's going to be the way? Maybe bedding them in for like 6 months, like Carrie's there now. We're not expecting her maybe against, Durham or whatever, Conti Cup, whatever she might play. But do you think that's the way to do it? He'll bring in, Mark will do it like Casey, bring in them for a couple of months, see them in our training, and then maybe just give them a little game. What do you think now?
Remember, this is his first experience of them. So he needs an opportunity to see them. And what better opportunity than to say, right, come down to Carrington. Let's get you into the squad. Let's see what you can do. Let's get you up against the WSL players. Let's get you up against our first team. And what a motivation that is for those players to say, wow, if I perform well in training and I skin somebody and I look like I've got their beating, then, hey, that's a great bonus for me. So I think part of it will be forced, that Mark Skinner will need to see these players play, will need to see them train, and he'll work from there what he wants from them. Does he want them in the first team squad? Does he want them to stay in the Devs? Obviously, Charlotte Healy will feed into that as well. Does he want them out on loan? What does Charlotte want? We're saying Mark Skinner. Actually, she probably will be saying to him, this is your next one. This is your next cab off the rank. This one needs a push, so maybe do this. Or she's the one that knows these players better than Mark Skinner could ever know. And likewise, better than Casey would have known.
And the other one I think will know, and I think will be helping in it, because he was there when he first came into our club. Martin started in the development team with Charlotte. He was Charlotte's assistant and then came in. So hopefully he knows as well. But then I think a lot of those players will have changed since Martin's been, Yeah. They would have got better. And I hope that people are still given the chance. Because, I hope you don't mind me just bringing it up now. The other day, Liverpool 1, Man United 10, Maria 5, like we said. Jess Simpson, a name that we've talked about, 2. Chloe Williams, someone we know, has got a goal. Kana got a goal. Eleanor Ashton, name that I've heard before, got a goal. There was a lot of new players as well. Players that we signed. We've signed 3 players from Liverpool. We signed 2. I think we found a player from Wolves, a player from Stockport. But they're all like young players. And then I'm sure a lot of under 16s have come up. But you know, what do you think? What do you think sort of when you hear those names? Like I said, Chloe, Kana, Maria, Niamh Murphy, Rebecca May. Do you think, like you said, we've not seen them for a while, so do you think the same ones are the same ones doing it? What do you think?
The short answer is I don't know. And I've actually, the closest I've been to any of the devs was last Saturday at Old Trafford, because there were a group of 5 of them sat a couple of rows behind me. And at that point, I think, you know, I don't even know where their standard is right now, because there's just no way of knowing where they are. The names that we obviously know are the players we've had the chance to see. But it's been a good while since we've seen a run of games. We hear that so-and-so's playing well, this player's done well, we've brought this player in. But we know full well you can get all the great stats, but nothing comes close to actually seeing a player. We know that Kana Solskjaer was on fire at one point, but we also don't know whether that's sustainable. We don't know whether that was, yeah, she hit form, she had, you know, she's on fire for a short time. Can she sustain that? And actually, that's a massive question for a lot of these players as they develop. We've seen so many players for the men's team have great youth careers and not sustain it. So the names we know, the Poppy Lawsons, the Maria Edwards, obviously Rebecca May, Kana, obviously. There's so many others that I'm going to forget more names than I remember. But those are the ones we know. But it's actually seeing them. And it's not just seeing them once, it's seeing them game after game after game and seeing how they perform. Then we'll know.
Jonathan asked the question. I see Connor's question. I will come to Connor. Do you think they've done this? Deliberately reduced?
My suspicion would be to say no, because it's comparable with other teams. What I think it has done, though, so it's a kind of yes but no, or no but yes. I think there are spaces for devs players, and whether that is that a player gets promoted to, like Carrie, let's say. So does Carrie now stay in the first team squad, or does she drop down to devs to get some games rather than just sit on the bench game after game? So I think whilst we've not accommodated for any specific development players, I think we've allowed spaces for the opportunity. But I also, and that's why I say, I think we could also go through the season. No, but yes, yes, but no. I think we could go through the season without having anybody consistently. That's what I'm saying here. That I think we could go through the season with our squad as it is. We just might have a dev go in for a few games, and depending on who's on fire, depending on where the gaps are, who's fit, who's not fit. But we've got a comparable squad to most other teams in the Super League. So I'd love to see us accommodate, but only accommodate when it's the right player.
I don't know. Is my answer to Connor's question. What do other leagues do abroad with their development under 20? I don't know, Connor. And you would like to think that UEFA Women's Champions League, we saw with the men, the under-19s played young boys, under-19s. So you would like to think that they would bring in something like that, UEFA. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see group stages mirror, and you know, if Man United ever in the group stage, our development team play Barcelona. I don't know, you know, something like that would be good. I do think that I've heard of Real Madrid B and stuff like that for the women. So I do think they do probably similar to what their men's do. Go on, Deb. I don't know if you know.
No, I was just thinking, I mean, it's a good question, and neither you nor I know a definite answer. But whilst we're looking at leagues abroad, we can look closer to home and see that actually there's no great support. What was Gareth Taylor's comment? because
Yeah,
they didn't
my
have
devs are not
pre-season
good enough.
games. He said, was it he didn't trust his underage players?
Yeah.
Wow. What a way to motivate your squad. What a way to motivate youngsters. I don't trust you. You're not good enough. So, yeah, I know we're talking about foreign leagues, but even domestically, I'm not sure how much is taken seriously. And we've had conversations now with Chelsea supporters, their supporters group, some time ago now. And they were very, they didn't even know anything about their development squad. They had no idea. They weren't allowed to go and watch them play. And this is pre-COVID. They weren't allowed to watch them play. They didn't know names of players. And okay, we can all say it's Chelsea. They'll just go out and buy players. But actually, their fans, their supporters group wanted to watch them. And again, where's the trust? Where's the faith in the youth players, in the younger squad players that, as we know, really get fans fired up?
Yeah. I don't know if you can hear me. Sorry, I was just messing about with my line.
It's all right. I'll just talk over you. Carry on.
No, but I would. I agree. You know what Gareth Taylor said. If anyone ever said that, anyone, don't care, Mark Skinner, Casey Stoney, Siobhan Chamberlain, if anyone ever said that about our development team, I chased them out myself. You know, don't care. And like
Can
you
you
said,
imagine being a parent?
Yeah.
Can you imagine being a parent of any one of those girls? Hearing that the manager of the first team hasn't got any faith in your child, doesn't think they're good enough. That's devastating.
It's different now at Man United. I think even with the men's side, it's different. And when was that? You know, they're going about Phil Foden, but he came from Stockport. You know, Chelsea. When have they ever, the men's side, really ever, you know, brought? It's all about money for those teams, really, buying the best players, money, throwing money at it. And you know, I think John Fry I think it was in the comments before talking about hoarding. It was either John Fry or John Ball talking about hoarding young players. And I know that Chelsea did give a lot of pro contracts, and now the ones that have given pro contracts are out in America trying to get football, trying to get their developments, or gone somewhere else, or dropped down into, say, Charlton to get full, full-time football. I think we will do it differently. I think our players hopefully will play. You know, I think Tara will come back from a loan better player. I think that's what we're seeing. A lot of people go out on loan and come back better players, and they'll still be given opportunities, chances to grow, chances to play in the first team. Whereas, like you say, I don't think and it's no disrespect. I mean, obviously, like you say, Chelsea fans want to see young players come through, but it's maybe not in Chelsea's DNA to have really young players in their team, you know? Like it is at Man United.
Yeah, you have to be exceptional to get through into the Chelsea first team and the City first team anyway. But if the players blocking you and immediately in front of you are Pernille Harder or Frank Kirby, where's your reality in that? But also imagine you're at City and you're told, yeah, absolutely, you're told that you're not trusted, you're not good enough. I think that's devastating to somebody's psyche, really. But I know you've got to be a good player to get into the first team. But we also know when these devs come in, they're not going to be the superstars straight away. They're going to be inconsistent. There's almost a sense that that's not going to be allowed at other clubs. We'll give them time. We'll give them a bit of space. I don't know, but my guess is that doesn't happen at other clubs. You've either got to be on it from the start or don't bother.
I mean, I know we haven't watched with COVID. We haven't really watched. I've watched in little snippets during lockdowns. When lockdowns were eased, I managed to watch, and then it was in lockdown again, and then bubbles and all that. So I've watched in little gaps, right? So I've not seen it all, but from when we were watching, Deb, when the first year prior to COVID, Chelsea was the top team. City was a top team.
Yeah.
You know, we were in a, you know, someone asked me like, where are Man United in the league? And listen, let's not forget about if we're top of the league, if we're bottom, who cares? It's just about the players playing and getting out there, developing, really. Development squad, under 21s, it doesn't matter who wins or loses. But it, you know, we were in the middle. We would win some games, we would lose some games. But now I'm seeing us, we're very consistent. And I saw that after the lockdown one, we got very consistent, very streamlined. And I think it was us and Villa. Aston Villa have a top squad. And I always remember the few games that I got to watch, it was very tight. Every other game we would win. We'd beat Everton, we beat this, beat Liverpool, like we just said. I heard that we beat Arsenal. I heard that we beat Chelsea. But it's always Villa. Villa were the ones that just beat us. And they look like what they're doing with their team. They're investing, again, like us, in the whole structure. All their development teams train at the same, like all their teams train at Bodymore Heath. They're trying to, you know, put in a lot of energy into. They've got like what I've seen with Healy, a lot of coaches now around that development team. They've got S&C coaches, psychologists, goalkeeper coach. And this is what Man United have got as well, physios, their own, specific to that team. It's not you share it with the women. It's this is your coach that you go to. And I'm seeing the same at Man United, you know. Whereas, like you say, with Chelsea City, it's just putting it in the first team. That's it. I mean, what do you think when you hear? Go on.
Yeah, and following from what you're saying, there's two main ways to really build your squad. One, and you can do a mix, I suppose, but one is you throw money at it. You say, here's the checkbook, come. And that's, you know, that's what we'd expect of Chelsea. To an extent, that's what we'd expect of City. The other way, and you can have a balance here, is, as somebody told me, players coming up from the youth and a sprinkle of magic. And that's the balance that we seem to have. And that's the balance we've always had. And that's what interests us as fans, because that's what we know. And there were people who applied for the manager's job of the first team, and all they wanted was a checkbook. And I dare say some fans would have said, yeah, great, give it to them. But this is the United way. So Villa are doing it, I would say, the right way. Support the youth, invest in them. Because then you get long term as well. You're not getting that short term hit necessarily. And grow healthily. Whereas you're not throwing this checkbook out and bringing in a bunch of mercenaries. We've seen it happen in the men's game. And it's one of it's such a common complaint about the men's game that you're now just bringing over these mercenaries. All the Americans that came over last season, do they now look anything other than mercenaries? So it's it's feeding into the women's game already. And I just think as a fan, I'd rather see a team invest, support, and yeah, that sprinkle of magic. That's what gets us excited. Yeah, sometimes I'd love a team of Galacticos, but I also love the fact that we've got Marcus Rashford in the men's squad. I also love that we've got Mason Greenwood. So, like I said at the beginning, it connects you better.
Oh yeah, the young girls are like, you know, I remember one of them saying, I've been here since 5 years old, and you just think, I want her to definitely go on and do it. And a lot of them have been like that, but even the ones that have come in and been with us a couple of years, you know, you're still the devs. And listen, I know that they're not really called the devs, they're called the Man United under 21s, and they play in the WSL Academy. But I think that first year it was the devs, so that's why we call it the devs.
Look, they'll always be the devs to us.
Yeah.
Even when the structure shifts
Changes.
And we've got different age groups, we'll still slip every now and again and call them the devs.
Yeah. Connor saying United Way, 4,000 games, 80 years, academy players in every match day squad.
That's a really proud achievement. I think for us.
Yeah. I think if I go back to that day, that Reading day, and you know, it wasn't ever Rebecca May's fault, but you know, I look at that Jessie then. If some of our young ones did come in, I think they would get that level of protection. Though I think you'll be like, "Boom, she's young. We look after her," you know. And I see Jonathan here saying about some young boys that he's probably watched. Yeah. But you know, if we say Chloe Williams, Maria, Poppy, I think they would get that level of protection. I think if like Hannibal came in and did a mistake, it would be that boom, all in and all surround him, all look after them.
You know, it's funny actually, as you said that, I just thought, as well as fans, do we go easier on our homegrown? Do we let them make, not that we want them to make mistakes, but do we let them make the mistakes without the vitriol sometimes, which I don't agree with, but I sometimes think actually we as fans, never mind the team, we protect our youth. Yeah. We want them to do well that bit more. We want everyone to do well, but like I say, we're invested in them. Look, Saturday I'm going to watch the 23s. It's just, you want to see these players, you want to see them develop.
Yeah. People are asking now, and they want some kind of coverage. I'd love it. I know something that I've heard, and Deb, I don't know, you probably know more than me, but you know, I've heard that would be a path that they'd like to take. Whether they will quite yet, probably not. Yeah.
I think a lot of it would also be in terms of coverage. Suddenly across the league, there's not the facility to record at some of these grounds. I think there are issues in terms of the ages of some of the kids. I'm not convinced that that's true, but that's something I have heard. I don't see why not. I don't see why. You see, for me, I still think there should be a weekly roundup show on MUTV.
Yeah. And they should be part of it. Yeah, that would be good. That would be interesting. Even if you don't see any coverage, you just get told the result and who scored or whatever happened, or quick, 5 minutes. This is what happened. Blah, 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 moving on. Just so
let's have a quick interview. Let's have an interview with the player. Let's get to see what they look like. Let's get to hear them. Let's buy into their story.
Yeah. Well, I think the fact that if he is going to call up more, they will have to do this, because I think we saw against Liverpool, a lot of these names were just dropped on people raw, and we knew of them. Yeah. Or people like, who's Maria Edwards? Who's Chloe Williams? Who's Rebecca May? Probably they did know Rebecca, but people still ask, who's Katie Zell? People still ask, who's, whoever. I'm trying to think of who's Martin. I don't know. You know what I mean? They still ask who's a Haley lad. So obviously they're going to ask who's a dead player they've never seen or heard.
I remember the Burnley Cup game last year, and I think that's when Tara made her debut. And I think Carrie Jones might have made her debut as well in that match. And we were doing a watch along for it, some of the supporter club members. And there were people saying, when one of them was, I think it's when Tara was coming on, and people are going, and you've got, the spreadsheet crew who just need to tick them off. That, someone's played. And they're like, which one's this? Who's this? Wait, is this so-and-so or is this so-and-so? And I'm like, look, this is Tara Bourne. She's more statuesque. She's just got that look about her of, I'm in charge here. And somebody else is shouting, no, I know who that one is. The other one's Carrie. And actually, if they're going to be first team regulars, as fans, we should know who they are. Let's find out about them. We get enough other gimmicky articles on either the website, the app, or MU, because not everyone's got MUTV, granted, but I've said player profiles a lot to the branding team, and I think I'll say it again, because I think it needs to happen.
Yeah. Well, Deb, we've done an hour, and I didn't even touch on. I had a lot of notes of names and all this, but I think we've done it enough, and I think everyone's enjoyed it. Drop a like on this video if you've enjoyed. Any more you want to know, drop a comment in, or comment us on Twitter, whatever. I'll try and answer what you don't know, and definitely follow on Twitter. Because even though we might not see it, we're still trying to keep updated, still trying to know the scores, and so definitely keep following and keep supporting. And Jonathan, listen, I'm up for it. Maybe it could be,
I think it's one of those now. We need to get to watch the girls play, rather than just say we think this one's play well. But yeah, we'd love to have the opportunity to watch them play and know who we're talking about.
Yeah, because a lot's changed, and I think COVID, and we've missed a lot, and a lot's changed. But listen, yeah, like you said, I'd like to do a loan show. I know Rich is in, he's probably gone now, but I'd like to do a loan show. When I see a bit more of the people on loan, I'd like to do a loan show. Jonathan, cracking show. Connor's learned a lot. I know Connor's someone who's just started watching it this season. He's sort of just learned the first team, so he definitely would like to know. He knows a lot about the men, so he'd like to know about, and we'll see if we can do it. If we see some of them, we'll get them. We'll definitely do a show, even if it's just one game. Right, guys, thank you so much. Thanks, Deb. See you soon, guys. Thanks for coming on. Tomorrow, Reese and Rich, get on it. Big show, 1 year anniversary. Reese and Rich. Richard Laverty, Reese Land, I don't even know, agent. So it's going to be a big show. Got a lot to talk about there. But yeah, guys, Reese and Rich tomorrow at 7. Cheers. Bye.